risk, so we did have to make this meeting set. So I've got the time at 1:31 p.m. And I'd like to call the meeting to order with a roll call of the board members. Let's see, Carissa.
Present.
Derek.
Present.
Mark.
I'm here.
Present, thank you. Tony, I am present. Mandy, unless you got a phone number and I can't see you.
It looks
Mandy.
like she's logging on, Tony. It's showing that she's logging on currently.
How come I'm not seeing that?
She's there. I can see her.
Is it Mandy, if you're there, please acknowledge. Okay, now I got you. There she is. Okay, all board members are present and accounted for. All right. First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda that has been sent to all the board members. I can have a motion to approve that.
I move that the agenda be approved.
Carissa, and a second.
I'll second.
Derek, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you very much. The agenda's been approved. Then we all had an opportunity to review the previous minutes from the July meeting.
Unless there's comments, I move that the be approved.
Okay, Carissa submitted a motion to approve it. Any second? Mark seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Special business. Let's see, number A, the budget committee. And any comments here for either Mark?
No, we have not started working on the next budget yet, so there has been no activity this month. Obviously, that'll start shortly, and we'll have to have a meeting. Chris and I will meet with Keith, and we'll start going through that.
Okay, thank you very much, Mark. Jumping over to the next item, the Recreation Committee. I noticed, go ahead. I know there's been some activity.
I was gonna say nothing new to report. I did go up and walk around the new soccer field. That was actually an enjoyable experience. I'm glad that's there. It seems like Keith's always a step ahead of me on this one as far as refurbishing parks. I mean, everything's looking great. I think as soon as we get that the water drawn down at the lake and get that taken care of as far as those infrastructure pieces, I think we can talk more about past conversations about putting in maybe a dock, of some sort where paddle boards and small watercraft, non-motorized watercraft can be put in. So still some ideas on the table for sure.
Thank you very much, Derek. I appreciate that. I think we've come a long way over the last 12 months. I think we still have some things we can do with it. Good beginning.
Yeah, I just recently saw at the main park right by the community center, there was some exercise equipment that looked fairly new. So it's coming together and looks great. So well done to Keith and his staff for doing that.
Thank you very much. Personnel Committee.
Tony,
Yeah,
just in an update in regards to the food truck thing, it sounds like we're making some progress with the attorney. Once we get all that figured out, I'll kind of nail down a date and then start inviting food trucks from there. So I was just kind of waiting to make sure we've got everything covered legally.
yeah, I believe there's a separate line item about the food truck later on in the meeting. So we may come back on that. Because due to the fact that everybody's sending these new documents with the Doc X, which needs the new version, I have problems getting some of those things to open up. I'm still behind a couple of years. All right, the Personnel Committee. I'm afraid in here it's probably going to be some news that people may not be aware of yet, but we do have some major changes taking place. And I do not have the actual resignation printed out, but I'll just summarize it for everybody. Keith Roundtree has decided to leave services as a full-time employee effective September the 1st. Mark and I were able to meet with Keith about a week ago when we first got wind of this. And we convinced him, in light of all the changes and the things that are going on in the community, that he will stick around as his time is available, because he has made plans that he will be on a part-time basis. So we find a replacement that can be phased into the organization. The hunt for replacement started, I was going to say Monday, at least for sure, if not earlier, about earlier last week. And we're basically going to have put the information out there. We did receive 2 resumes here late yesterday afternoon. Nothing real promising yet, but we are getting some activity. We are also advertising to the Special District Association statewide, which is really the one organization we belong to that governs what we do. They monitor what we do and give us direction. Then if that wasn't bad enough, yesterday,
Can I just add, Tony, he did 30-day notice. For those who don't have to, he gave us a 30-day notice.
yeah, it was till September the 1st, 30 days.
Yeah.
On September 1, he will convert to a part-time employee. And he will still be on payroll to help us out through these changes. So, because none of us are really qualified to sit in his chair, as far as I'm concerned. So we need his expertise in the worst way. Anyway, to make matters even worse, we also have a resignation that I just want people to be aware of, that Jim Spitzer has decided to enter his second retirement period. For those who did not know, Jim was a part-time employee at the Metro Yard, and it was either Keith or John that talked him into taking over the supervisory capacity at the yard 2.5 years ago and bring him out of this partial retirement into full-time work again. I heard through the rumor mill that he's been cleaning his trailer that he's got parked up here so he can travel. This gave me an indication that his presence with us is going to be limited. And I received the resignation from him effective September the 10th. And Keith is working with him, and I think we're going to promote from within on this, so there'll be more information forthcoming on that. So we hate to lose him, but I think Mauritius travel's fine. And if I can help him, maybe I'll puncture one of his tires to keep him around a little bit longer. So on the personnel side, those are 2 big changes that's going to affect everybody here. So I'm sorry to see it happen. But in all fairness to Keith, in case people did not know, when I interviewed Keith or talked to Keith 2.5 years ago, a year and a half ago, let me get that on the right angle.
Yeah.
There was a lot of discussion taking him from, he was a part-time teacher at the time. And I talked to him about the job and his background and all that. And I was just asking him to fill in for us to help us over a changeover period. And a couple of days later, he was foolish enough to say, hey, why don't I come to work for you full time? Which we did agree to do. And he basically put into motion a lot of plans that the board had been talking about for probably 2.5, 3 years, that we needed to do something for the sake of the whole community. And Keith has delivered on his promise. That I do appreciate that. So Mark, you were also on the personnel committee and you've been on this whole change of events here the last week or so. Any comments? You need to unmute yourself. Yeah, and Mark, I see your lips move, but try unmuting it. Still not working. Keith, can we unmute him?
Let me find them here.
Upper right corner.
Top
Upper right
right.
corner of your,
Top
there's
right.
3 dots.
From here, the only thing I can do is ask Mark to unmute himself.
I know, I can see his lips move. I think he can hear us.
So right on your picture, Mark.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. My screen just went blank. It just came back. So sorry I'm back. The only thing I wanted to add is that lest anyone think Keith is just bailing for some reason, he did indicate when he was hired that it would be short term, and you know, he's achieved the goals he was trying to achieve, and I think he's done a great job doing it. And so, you know, I wish him well going into his full retirement so he can spend more time having fun.
I
mean,
I just want to add one quick piece too, and that's it's a big loss. I mean, Keith's knowledge, background, everything was amazing, fantastic. I wasn't aware that it was kind of, he entered into this as kind of a you know, short-term kind of thing. So I think I recall though that part of the resignation agreement that he's going to come back to Bayfield and teach. So we'll look forward to it. So,
I'm not so sure about that, Derek.
okay, well,
In between his metro job, his hunting, and the other things he's got planned.
oh, he can hunt over here in Bayfield. It's fine. So
Right. I appreciate that offer.
And I just want to say for probably one of that FLMD has had, his energy, his dedication, just terrific, and everything that he did accomplish, pages and pages, will benefit from for years to come. We will miss you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much. That takes us to the public comments. And
You
before
too.
we start the public comments, because I know some of the topics that are going to be in there, there has been discussions among some of the board members and swapping of emails that I'm going to make a motion that may affect what some people have to say, which is fine. And the resolution 2021-09 that talks about the rate environment, there's a section in there called 5B, the Roman numeral 5B, which reads, monthly road maintenance and improvement fees will be assessed upon each lot in Unit 3 at the 5.15 and 5/8 line vacant fee. I propose and make a motion that the board can vote on, or somebody can talk about, if we delete that statement from the rate changes, that there will be no road maintenance fee imposed in Unit 3, period. So any other board members will have any comments? If not, then look
Yeah,
at
Tony,
the-
I just wanted to second that. I think that's the right thing. I don't think we should be charging road maintenance fees for people in Unit 3 just because we're not actually maintaining the roads in Unit 3. The amount that they use the roads in to access Unit 3, I think is in the noise, and I don't think that would be a fair thing to do. So I'm in agreement that we eliminate that.
So you will second my motion. Any other directors have any comments about it before we take a vote?
no, none here.
All in favor of deleting that statement from the resolution?
Aye.
Aye, Derek, Mandy, you okay with it? Okay, so it's unanimous that the Unit 3 comment section V is in Victor, or numeral 5B will be deleted from the final resolution. It will not be there. All right, Jamie or Barb was keeping tracks of people that wanted to talk. And she made a list, so I will turn the listening device off, on, and have Jamie, Barb, who's keeping it? Is Jamie or?
That would be me.
That would
I-
be you. Would you call the
Uh-huh.
first candidate who would like to speak, please?
I would. Bonnie Salona.
Bye.
Hello. Hi,
All right,
Tony and
Bonnie.
gang.
The floor is
Um,
all yours,
before-
Bonnie.
Okay, I'll try to talk fast because I know I only have 5 minutes. So, and I'm Italian. It takes that long just to say hello. But first of all, I did want to thank Keith. He is a great person. He gets responds to all my emails, and he's very responsive. And anyways, thank you, Keith, for everything. I'm just gonna write down, I'm just gonna mention the points and then have everybody, all at once. Just first of all, the clarification on the rate increase. I'm hearing all kinds of increases. I'm hearing all kinds of, is it gonna be one big increase starting next month, or is it gonna be gradual month? And what is the percentage going to be? How is it going to affect us? That's the first question. Second thing, I think maybe it's time to call the sheriff again, because I know last year he said he was going to give Forest Lakes a priority, but with the speeding going on and I think maybe it's time to call him again and remind him that we're here. And finally, the board meetings post-COVID, where will they be? Will they be at the community center? Or will they be in the new building? Or will they, well, forget the new building, or will they be in the library, which would kind of be really difficult to Bayfield every month for that? Okay, those are my questions.
Let me try to answer a couple of them for you, make it easy.
Okay,
As far as the building is concerned, the rec center is really in pretty sad shape, so that's out. The library will be the live location that we will meet at. Till something gets done, something else happens. See, there's something, you had 3 points, trying to remember. The rate
Yep.
increase, I'll give you a flat comparison. The detailed information is really on the website. And because of the detail involved, I'm not gonna read all of it. I'll just give you a top line for a full-time resident that's here today, who has water and sewer. The total that I come up with, basically, currently it's $79.25 per month, and that will jump up to $106.25 a month. And of course, it's comprised of 5 different pieces, so. That would be. your
okay,
income. And
okay,
what was the
so,
other one? What was the other one, Bob?
I'm sorry.
What was the other-
Yeah, the meeting, it's really
Oh,
it's really
speeding.
gotten out of hand. And
Well,
yeah.
I noticed
Yeah.
about a week ago, I thought the sheriff's department had a speeding truck sitting on what I call the north exit to the subdivision, about halfway over there. And I believe that was one of his trucks, but basically measuring on the details. Keith, were you aware of that?
No, I was not. I did see they had posted one of the digital things up, letting
Yeah.
folks know their speed limit and that kind of stuff and when to slow down, and even
Yeah, that's-
congratulated you when you were doing the speed limit.
Yeah, well, that's the sheriff's unit.
Yeah. We
Okay,
also
and he
put ours
does-
up.
He does record that. So I have not been in contact with him, but maybe we can make it a point for the next board meeting to get an update from the sheriff to find out what they came up with.
Tony, a couple weeks ago, over on the east side in Forest Lakes on the Lip Road, I encountered a sheriff's car that had a radar gun on.
I know they're around because I've seen them here several times, so we're not being ignored.
Mhm.
Okay,
The problem is, everybody sees them, everybody slows down. They go away, speed limit goes up.
And Tony, Bonnie had one other thing I'd like to address if I could.
Okay, I thought I covered it. Go ahead.
No, you did capture everything, but Bonnie asked what the increase how it was supposed to happen, and you did answer that it was going to happen all at one time. But as is stated in the resolution,
the effective date.
RCAC recommended to the board an automatic 10% rate increase per year from years 2 through 5.
okay, well, we're in year 1, right? I mean, that's right, I guess I got confused. Is this the
Yes.
second year?
No, we're in
No,
year
this is-
1.
We're in year
Go ahead,
one.
Tony. Yeah.
Okay,
Year one.
so
Thank you.
the 10% increase was supposed to start in year 2. This is where I'm confused. Where it says from year 2 to year 5, yet we're gonna be getting this now in year 1 in September.
Right.
And that's why I'm wondering, why now? Why not wait until year 2, which is when we're supposed to get it? Give people a chance to
Well-
reconcile and do their budget.
Okay,
You know,
Bonnie?
maybe we need to make a statement and then it will answer a lot of people's questions. If Keith would like to read a response he gave to a resident, or I think in a couple paragraphs, it's some.
well, I think what's confusing,
Financial situation.
You're breaking-
that the has been in the years of neglect of not raising rates just to keep up with inflation. let alone what we're looking at for future infrastructure issues going to have if some systems are 5
And
years.
I think
The
what's
sewer-
confusing Bonnie, okay, Chris, hang on a second. I think what's confusing Bonnie is that this is a 5-year deal. Okay, year one, the increase is the numbers I just gave Bonnie a little while ago, which,
Right,
okay,
Was the
which is
10%.
basically the difference. That's year one. Year two is gonna be 10% of the 106, year three, whatever. And over the 5-year period, we're gonna revisit, make sure that the objective we were trying to achieve is to create the reserves and the funding that we need to make the improvements that have been recommended by Johnson Engineering to basically bring our subdivision up to speed and stay in compliance with everything we have to do.
okay, yeah, it's, I guess I'm still, so this 106.25, that's not a 10% increase, that's gonna be just a jump from
Right.
80, 70 to, and then after that, starting in
Yes.
year, next year, it'll be 10% of 106 and on up through you.
And when you look at this,
That hurt a lot of people, including myself.
okay, well, there's a lot of information about this on the
Oh,
website. It's kind of hard to weed through a little bit, but if you
yeah,
have
well, that's
questions,
where I got confused. Yeah,
okay, all right, Bonnie,
yeah, well, like
I think-
yeah, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
I don't want to jump on anybody. But yeah, so like I said, I saw a lot of posts on Neighborly Forest Lakes and Forest Lake website and the Next Door website. And this increase is gonna, jump is gonna really be very detrimental to people on. And the fact that we didn't hear about it until, I know you said, Keith had said in previous board meetings, it was brought up, but a lot of people don't, they're away, they're on vacation, and I myself,
Yeah.
I did
Well-
not read the meetings single month. I just figured the summer would be everybody out enjoying themselves, having fun, then we hit the dirt on in September.
Yeah, but
So-
Bonnie, I know you've been around and that I think you were in back when I was running for office 3.5 years ago. And one of
Yep,
the-
and I voted for you.
Thank you, I think. Anyway, one of the things I was bringing up during the meetings that when I took over, when I got involved with the board, is that we were living off our retained earnings then. And I brought up the fact that that could not continue. And there's been a budget item almost every single year since I've been here. And we had a lot of discussions about how to approach this. The first we thought made the most sense, which probably was the least logical one, is compare us to all the other subdivisions in the neighborhood, which we did do then. But when we thought about it, says, well, that's not the answer to our problem. Our problem is we did not know what it was going to cost to maintain services that we provide. So that's where the change of direction came, and then the survey ideas came up. And we've been working on the survey now almost since the day Keith started.
Yeah.
Because in our interview from the board people with Keith, it was one of the topics we talked to him about. Says, hey, we need to do something. And we knew that was going on. So bits and pieces, this should not have been a shock. I know the numbers kind of hard to swallow in a way, but we're still under what the rest of the neighborhood here are. We're still well within line of everybody else. I thought that makes a difference because it has no bearing on why we did this. Okay, I'm gonna give somebody else a chance,
Okay.
Bonnie.
Okay, thank you.
I do want to add to the group, to the residents here. The meetings, the Zoom meetings are posted. There's links on the website. For 30 days, the recording of the Zoom meeting, and also Jamie, the best job I've ever seen of taking notes. It's almost a transcript of the meetings. This should not be any kind of shock to anybody if you want to be informed. We do our best to stay transparent. Like Tony says, we've been talking about this for over 3 years, and there's ways to get your information if you cannot make this 1:30 meeting. And the meetings we had all last year at night. So that that should handle anybody's question on us trying to be transparent.
And we've also recorded the meetings as well, so, and place those on the website. So,
Okay, but Jamie, who's next on the list?
I have Renee Blaisdell.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank you for actually letting me speak. And second of all, for voting the portion 5B down about the road maintenance fees in Unit 3. Thank you. I had 3 owners contact me last week about it, asking to see if I could put my input in, and I think Dave was going to try to address you guys, but I don't see him on the Zoom. So if you would just indulge me, I wrote a statement just to get it on the record, and I write it because I tend to babble. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna, just so we're on the record. Okay. First of all, kudos to the Metro manager and the folks that put together a plan looking into the future. It's very nice to see that there's actually a plan now. I'm disappointed that Unit 3 isn't in it, but I do understand how tremendously expensive it would be to put, infrastructure in there. So I don't know, I'm not sure, if this is the time for Metro to raise rates given the economic environment and the whole COVID thing and the effect it's had on people's paychecks. But I don't really know what's going on out there economically. For all I know, you guys are booming now, but I'm back here in New England. So I want to address my concerns for Unit 3 in general. I think that Unit 3 is the crown jewel of Forest Lakes. It's rough, but it provides hiking and camping and recreation for everybody in Forest Lakes and the public. And a lot of people, as you all know, buy property in Forest Lakes because there's all that wonderful land out there to play on and to get to federal land too. We provide a lot of value to Forest Lakes residents, not only in that way, but we also pay mill levy taxes too every year. And I kind of did some numbers just based on my tax bill for the last 15 years. And it looks like over the last just 15 years in the mill levies, Unit 3 properties paid or should have paid $173,000 about, if I have my numbers right there. So we contribute monetarily, and also we provide our private land for people's enjoyment. So here's the problem that I saw with your with the resolution that you just voted down, is that you were looking to assess road maintenance and other infrastructure fees on Unit 3, but you didn't include us in the plan. And I also see that you've reported something with the Registry of Deeds saying that you're not ever going to put infrastructure in. That's not really unexpected at all. I've been an owner out there for 17 years, and I've never really expected that you guys were going to do that, because it would be too financially burdensome on the people who own in the other units. I get that. But you voted that down, and hopefully that won't come up again. But if it does, I hope that you would ask the Unit 3 folks to join in on that, discussions on that. In my opinion, I don't think there should be any fees in Metro. I think there's a couple of other little ones in your proposal. I don't think there should be any until we're at least included somewhere in the plan. Not necessarily that you're going to go build our roads or put water, put sewer, but somewhere in the plan. And I would suggest that maybe we could start with looking at the fire mitigation issue that we have out there. Because one lightning strike or one cigarette butt, and that place goes up. And there's be no more recreation and there'll be mudslides and, many of us lived through the Missionary Ridge debacle out there. We saw how destructive that was to, lands that we once enjoyed to go hiking and horseback riding on. So at some point, I'd like to see Unit 3 at least included in plans with Metro for fire mitigation. There's also the issue of egress through the private property out in Forest Lakes for if there's a fire. And I would like to let you know that for those of you who know where my property is, the end of Antelope Lane hits my property and the Forest Service. I would give the easement or right of way or whatever, I would give that to Metro or the Forest Service or whatever. And you could cut a fire service road through that. Mr. Dooley owns some acreage beneath mine, but I bet you if we asked, he'd let you do that too. Because it would also give us access, right? But
Excuse
a fire,
me, I'm sorry, Renee. Your 5 minutes are up.
okay. Anyway, the offer's there.
Okay, Renee, let me try to give you a couple of pieces of insight, which you probably are aware of, and maybe I'm repeating ourselves. But the decision to not develop Unit 3 was actually made in 1985 with a resolution that I'm sure you're aware of.
Yep.
What we found out over the last year and a half is that resolution should have also amended the service plan that Forest Lakes filed with the state back in late 1970s. That step was never taken.
Oh, I didn't know.
So what we were doing basically here recently is correcting an oversight that had never happened. So that's what the filing was all about. There was nothing new in that whole document except.
Yeah, all right.
The other thing is, and I don't know if you know it or not, we had an estimate made by Johnson Engineering of what it would take to bring Unit 3 online on all efforts.
Yeah,
And the number was actually about $26 million,
yeah, I saw that. I saw that in the report. Yeah.
which equates to about $136,000 per lot.
Yeah.
So if we did it, you'd have a hell of an assessment to swallow.
I know.
And I don't question your math, but I also have been looking at the mill levy that is going out up there. The average lot pays a tax of between $70 and $80 a year. And our mill levy at 0.39 equates to about $2.80 per lot per year.
Well, I look at my actual tax bill and it says the Metro mill levy is $35.54 for the last 15 years, except 1 year it was $30 and some cents, and another year it was $40 and some cents. That's just on my 5 lots down there.
Okay.
On
You got
so I
5
don't
lots.
know what the rest are, but that's what mine are. So that's where
Okay.
I got my math.
All right, well, $3 a lot I could see. All right.
Yeah,
And
mine are
then-
$35.54 per lot per year in mill levy taxes.
Renee, as you probably know, when it comes to Firewise, my wife has been a very, very heavy proponent of Firewise in the subdivision.
Yeah.
Since we moved here and our brand new home was almost ready to get burned down, going back to 2002. The problem with Unit 3 is you're surrounded by 3 sites by either state or federal property.
Yeah.
And to access or egress out of there is going to be impossible. I would suggest that if you guys want to do some grouping together and go sit on the Forest Service lap or something and see if they'll let you tie into our access.
Not
As a
me,
group?
but yeah, somebody maybe.
Yeah, as a group, you get together and says, hey, Forest Service, here we are. Says, if something happened to us, we acquired a piece of property on the east side of the subdivision that you can connect to, which is relatively close. Because
Yeah.
it's a sliver, if you will, to get, I think it's state land that you might be able to connect to with their permission. Because
Right,
we're gonna
right.
move our egress out to that section anyway, because we have to do something about that. Now, within the resolution, we did put something else in there that really does affect all Unit 3 residents. Because basically you have the option, if you want to access our wood burning pile or the garbage pile, those files are available to Unit 3 residents. So we did make that available to you to help clear out. And when you do a Firewise grant, which can be obtained, I don't think there's anything in there that prohibits a grant being given to somebody in Unit 3. I mean, that applies to the whole subdivision. And that's always been going out. So there is some hope there for you can tap into.
Okay, it's Firewise grant, and that's through, is that the state or the federal?
The Firewise group is actually a La Plata County group. There's people from every single subdivision in the whole county that get together that basically create all these fire escape plans and all that. And they file for a grant from the federal government. And the latest one I was aware of this year, I think they ran out of money though, they would reimburse you up to 50% of your cost to basically mitigate your lot or lots. And they'll send somebody out there from the group that basically has forest knowledge of what should be cut down, what you don't want to cut down, and then take it from there, and then you can hire somebody to do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, I will talk, I will let our group know that.
Okay. I hope that helps a little bit.
That does, because I know that I remember that years ago there was, when I was living out there in Bayfields, I knew about kind of that stuff, but I've kind of fallen back because I'm back here in New England, and I just go out to visit for a week, a year. So, and then I'm usually up on Imogene Pass or something camping. So I don't spend a
All
lot
right.
of time.
Thank you very much, and I hope we answered some of your questions for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Jamie.
Jamie,
Next, we
Jamie,
have
we're getting-
Robin Kissel.
I'm sorry, Jamie,
Sorry.
we're getting comments on the side before they get lost down there. Can I just make real quick comments on people are in the chat?
Sure.
Julie Eider, we, again, between our capital improvements plan and the rate study by experts, we went with the $2,500, we went with the 3-gallon limit for the base because by their recommendations, but also the majority of our households were using about 2,500 gallons. To answer Brandy White's notification on raising the utility rates, I looked into that because we got a letter from people. So on my cable bill, I'm sorry, on my cell phone bill, it was raised 11.5% in a year. Again, no notification. I have natural gas. The base change rate went up 17.2% from August 8th of 2019. No notification. LPEA, my electric company, base rate, they started a peak power charge added in August of 2020. It's a 7.9% base change rate. No notification. And my cable bill has gone up 7% since December. No notification. So that answers that. Okay, thank you, Jamie. It's all yours.
Okay. the
All
next
right.
person.
I have Robin Kissel.
Okay, I'm here, I think. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you fine, Robin.
Thank you. I was wondering if when you guys were doing this rate increase study, if you actually did past comparisons to the past resolutions. They're not available on the website, so we weren't able to look at them. And I did post some stuff on the chat box as well regarding what are we doing comparing ourselves to asphalt roads. We don't have any. We know that they're expensive. I'm not sure why we're even making it comparable to asphalt. And we're doing that. Also, we know that the taxes are going up because our values have greatly increased on our homes. And so Metro is going to be getting a lot more fees, not to mention all the grants. Thank you very much for doing that. The grants has helped with a lot of our stuff, the studies, the wood burning, stuff that we're saying that we pay for, but we actually receive grants for. We're not incorporating that. And it does look like for the next 5 years, it will be a minimum of 10% increase starting year 2. So it's not just this big jump this year, but an additional 10% in the future for the next 5 years. Let's see, and shouldn't our mill levies be going for our infrastructures for those buildings and stuff? What else did I have? That's all I can think of it right now.
Okay, Robin, what, your question about the mill levy to buildings, I don't follow you on that one.
That it goes towards the infrastructures and stuff? Is that not what it's deemed to be mandated for?
Oh,
Not the wages, not the wages and stuff like what you guys receive from us, but it goes to the structures, not your wages, whereas this goes toward your wages and maintaining and a few other things.
The mill levy dollars we get from the county are allocated to 3 major categories: operating, water, and sewer. So ironically, in that statement, those people that live on the hill that do not have sewer, but have septic like I do, we are actually paying for a sewer system for the other 1/3 of the population living up here. So all that money we get from the state gets broken into our
Tony,
budget.
you're telling me that you get charged a sewer fee when you have septic?
It goes through my mill levy. The mill levy is split up through 3 different groups. So yes, I don't get charged under my bill, no.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about as well, is that our bills are all going to go up. Your sewer will not,
Yeah, but
except for in the mill levy, it very likely will, because all of our values have gone up immensely.
okay, I took a look at the mill levy, at the value change estimate, and that's basically based on my property value increase that came from the county earlier this year. The Metro District, when we do our budget plan for next year, we will probably anticipate a $43,000 increase in revenue because of taxes. So that's not as much money as you think it is,
Right.
because we are not changing the mill levy. Our mill levy hasn't changed. I'm trying to think, about 5-6 years since the mill levy's been changed, if at all.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I think it's even longer than the other bills.
Yeah.
Because when the properties were going down, we were actually being shorted, and we started living off our retained earnings. That's part of the problem that was created 7-8 years ago. But luckily, the voters of the state decided to kill the Gallagher amendments, so that's no longer an issue. What happened to us? As far as asphalt, unless Keith did something that I'm not aware of or I missed, I do not remember us comparing our roads to asphalt roads in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Because we have 27 miles of roadway that we maintain. And if we were to pave that, I would hate to think what it would. I was just told verbally, it's about $1 million per mile to pave it. And if we did pave it, you better hang on to your hat, because we'll become a racetrack out here.
Yeah, I see there's a comparison. The number 5 whereas on the resolution says versus asphalt roads. Are you saying you aren't saying that?
It's okay, hang on. Did I miss something in the resolution?
Let me see.
Whereas
Very-
number 5, that number 5 whereas on the first page. And as far as announcing.
Okay, hang on a second. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I found your statement.
Okay, so also regarding the announcement of the public being able to attend this rate increase, I've been to every meeting, and I can tell you it was listed that the first one was going to be, I think, like April 7th or something, way back. During every of those meetings, there was never much said except that it's still in progress, and there were no additional dates for when the public could attend, not given on the in the board meetings. So I think in the future, if you've got something that's as important as this, you know how we do the elections and they put signs out there and they put dates and vote and stuff like that. I think we need to go that little extra mile when you're affecting people's money.
There were meetings scheduled in the month of June. I think it was scheduled 3 different times before we had 2 of them that basically had to do with the analysis of the company that did the analysis for us on the rate structure. They were open meetings. And I know one of them, I was actually out of town and I did participate. And I don't think any of them really had any outside people come in, and it was on their website.
Yes.
I appreciate your
No,
comment
there was
about,
that one lady was on, there was a resident on there.
Mhm.
was there?
Look
Okay.
at it, yes, I can't remember her name.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah,
Anyway, with taking the positive side of what Robin said, I think once we get our office down here to create a notice board or something around the office that like, kind of like the one that, that real estate company has right across from the high school, or the high school sign. Maybe we will kick in some money and create a sign like that so we can put some notices out there that people go, that they drive by the mailbox to go see it. Okay. Thank you very much, Robin. I hope we try to answer some of your questions, but
How about the other questions that were in that group?
I wrote down the tax, the asphalt.
How about past rate increase resolutions? Those
There were-
aren't available online.
were-
Granted, I
there were-
hate going online, but
But
I
there were
could
no
not find
resolutions.
them.
There were no resolutions.
Well, actually, if you look at 2013-06, that's a resolution. That was the last rate increase. It's right there on that first page of your resolution now. Is it not? It is on mine.
Right. So let me address that, Tony, if I could. So Robin,
Please.
if there are any resolutions that you needed from the district, all you had to do is simply make a phone call to us and we would have been more than glad to provide you with any of those.
but you're right, the last increase was 2013.
Yeah, but it sounds like we didn't look at that. We didn't make it available. I wish we would have.
Let me address that as well. So from the availability standpoint, like I just said, anyone, my office, our office, we have as much as we possibly can, an open door policy for anyone. If they need any information from us, we will provide that. Yeah, so that's when the last increase was done. And I know you and I talked about that a little bit today because you asked me what the percentage of the increase was that was done back in 2013, and you tried to compare that to the increase that's being proposed today. And my point back to you was that a lot of things have changed in between 2013 and now, which includes almost $30 million in capital improvements program projects that we need to undergo in order to get our infrastructure up and running. On a weekly basis, probably every couple of weeks, we have breaks in lines up there that are a true testament to the fact that our infrastructure is aged, it's decrepit, and it's breaking. So to compare the rate increase that was done back in 2013 to now, you're comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, Keith, I'd like to add to that too. To put that another way, we had the engineering company start from ground zero and saying, where are we today? And what do we need to do to put in place to maintain a viable infrastructure? And so we started from ground zero and said, here's where we at. What do we need in order to get there? So it kind of doesn't matter whether we looked at a previous rate resolution. It's based on what are the facts as they exist today.
And
Okay.
Tony, I'm sorry, if I could jump in again. So one of Robin's other comments had to do with the notifications that the district underwent in order to publicize the rate increases. So in addition to all of the public meetings that we had for the capital improvements plan, all the public meetings that we've had for the rate study itself, We followed state statute as was recommended by our attorney on making the notifications to the public that there would be a rate increase. And we also put that information on all of the bills that went out this past couple of weeks. And so, you know, we followed everything we possibly could in order to make the public aware that this was going to happen. So I feel like we took our due diligence and followed what we were required to do.
Yeah, I agree with you putting it on this last statement. I did see it. I also said, ouch, tax rates, everything going up. But it seems like we're going to, you know, put this resolution on the board today to vote on. And we're just now letting the public know via their bill
No.
that comment that they can find the information on your website. And that doesn't seem like much notice to me.
We noticed this 42 days ago, at least.
Yes, I was at that meeting as well. And that's the day, in fact, on that day, I sent you some questions via chat, but I didn't get any responses then. But a couple of days later, I sent you an email. So saying I could not pull it up myself, and I was not able to via my technology, whatever. And then to try to get down, and I will be glad when your office is in Bayfield, or I mean, out of Bayfield and in our subdivision. So we
I'm
have,
sorry, Robin.
okay,
Your
thank you.
time's up. Thank you. Next speaker is Denise Cruz.
Got a fun job, Jimmy.
Denise Cruz. Is Denise Cruz still out there? First call, Denise Cruz. Second call. Okay,
Click the right,
Now, can you hear me okay?
there you go.
oh, there she is.
I had to switch over to my computer, I'm sorry. Okay, so I did have just a couple of things I wanted to ask the board. Just a couple of things for clarification. I did reach out to Keith earlier this week. I had a slew of questions, and I appreciate him and his time going through those with me, because it did help me understand quite a few additional things on this topic. So thank you for that. I do have two things that are still very concerning to me that I wanted to bring up. The first thing was that I asked, in regards to water maintenance fees, I asked if he would please clarify the percentage of residents that use a 3,000 gallon or less water pump. And his response was that the 3,000 gallons being proposed is a change from the 5,000 gallon base rate. He says that we suspect that there are at least 90% of the total residents do not exceed our current base rate on a monthly basis, and that probably 95% of the residents are around 3,000 gallons. Many districts have undergone this very change that I think he means that we are proposing. So we are in line with this water reducing cost initiative. Unfortunately, we do not currently have the time or resources, to provide any other detail at this point, but can in the future. This response concerns me. I don't know how it's possible to properly calculate fees or even project revenue income if you don't know how many households this change is actually going to affect, and in turn, what kinds of revenues would actually be generated. That's just concerning to me that there's not some sort of estimate or some sort of verified figure that says these are the correct fees. The next question that I was concerned about, I also asked Keith if he would please clarify in regards to the road maintenance fees. I asked him if he would provide a schedule or a record that clarifies when each road is plowed and graded in Forest Lakes for the 2021 year. And his response to me was that there are 26 miles of roads within the subdivision, and we do not keep a record of when each road within the subdivision is plowed. During the winter, we plow each road when the snow level gets to at least 4 inches, and that varies depending upon the accumulation throughout the year. Also, we will typically perform summer maintenance to include plowing, gravel placement, and LIG placement. at least once or twice per year on each road. The cost proposed is to cover current operational costs, long and short-term heavy equipment placement, and proposed capital projects that are in our capital improvement plan that can be found on our website, which you sent to me and I read. Thank you for that. However, this response again is also very concerning to me. I don't understand how you can calculate operational costs and subsequent fees when you're not tracking how often you actually operate. Next year, I'm going to be spending over $500 in road maintenance fees, and my road has not been graded one time this year, not once. I find it really disturbing that I'm going to be paying $500 a year and for a service, and the service is not being performed. It's very concerning. It's very disturbing to me. And I just wanted to go on record and say that. I can't support these rate changes when I feel like these simple questions can't be answered. The rates themselves seem to be unsupported and unverified, and I just wanted to go on record and say that. So thank you for your time.
One question I'm curious about, you said $500 per year for road maintenance fee. How did the road maintenance fee is going to go into $13 a month for a year? That's what? How'd you get to 500? I'm just curious.
I own several properties. So at $13.50 for the several properties that I own times 12.
Okay.
Going to be about $500 a year.
Okay, so you did not consolidate the multiple lots.
No, I haven't consolidated them because
Okay.
that's $5,000 to do that.
All right. Let's see that. I know I can answer one really, because I know it's easy. The 3,000 gallons, 3,000 gallons per month. We talked about that, and I'm sure everybody has been blasted all over the news and all over the countryside, and even into the infrastructure bill that hit Congress today, is that water conservation is a major, major issue for the country as a whole. We are just part of it. If you think we have issues, you got to go look at the Bayfield and their minutes and see the problems they have with water, because they are running out of water resources. Knock on wood, luckily the Metro has not incurred any resource shortage. We can supply the water that people need, but we want people to conserve. And if you think, look at around you, look at Lake Powell, how deep that is. You look at Lake Mead and the impact in Las Vegas, the problems they're having. I mean, it's nationwide. So our thinking on dropping that to 3,000 was not so much based on getting revenue as it is to take a conservative approach to what is happening in the country.
Okay.
Someday, this subdivision will have a problem getting water to everybody.
Yeah,
Sure
no, Tony, I totally respect that. I want to conserve water as well. I would support that in any way. My concern is the documentation and the supporting verification for this 3,000 gallon or less. I feel like you're increasing. How do you know these rates are correct? It doesn't seem like you know how many people use 3,000 gallons and how many people use 4,000 gallons and how many people use 5,000 gallons. That's my concern. My concern is that I don't see where you're supporting this large increase in rates and decrease in gallons. I can't see the figures. And if you can point me towards, the direction of where I can verify this, and I can see that, this is the correct rates due to the drop in the gallons that we need for the projected water. We've got millions of dollars of water programs that you're projecting, and that's great. And I support it. I can't see how that figure is going to be correct if you don't know how many people use how many gallons.
We five of us may not know, but the person, Chris Brandywine of Keith, help me out, his corporation again.
RCAC.
He's also a government worker. What was the FDA or
USDA.
USDA?
Yeah.
That's what he does. He looked at our capital improvement plans, and then he's got all these formulas that he took everything we own as a residents. He got our information on every single resident from how many years, I don't know, how many gallons they use. He figures out this rate study and then gives us recommendations. I do not know, Keith, help me out, if that rate study and all his computation is on the website, but that's what we did for 3 special meetings before we decided to raise the rates. He had special meetings, he went line for line, it was very boring, on his recommendations based on his expertise. He did look at every single resident, how many gallons they use. What else was on that spreadsheet? I do not know if that's on the website or not, but that's how we got to that point, Denise.
I appreciate that. And I would like to see that because it makes me uncomfortable. I feel really uncomfortable if we don't know what this is going to generate. And I feel like this is a major question in the math equation as far as how we come up with the correct fees.
Just to jump in real quickly too, as I think Krista mentioned this, but it's a very important point. All this is rooted and grounded in that capital improvement plan that we have. So it's not pulling numbers out of thin air to say, well, this number sounds good. I think looking ahead to the future and being very future focused, that CIP is where this all originated from. So just more background.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well,
Yeah,
and
if
I
I
did
could say
ask Chris
something
on that
about-
call.
If I could say something
Sorry,
about
Mark,
the.
I did ask.
Oh.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, the road maintenance is done kind of on an as-needed basis. And the loop road and the service entrance, they receive much more abuse than the side roads. I know they have not graded my side road yet this year either, but it's really not in bad shape. If there's a side road that's in bad shape, then you probably need to just call Keith or the maintenance department and just say, hey, we got some issues, would you check it out? But I know they've had to grade the loop road numerous times and the entrance too. And so it goes to pay that too, because most of the miles I drive in the subdivision is on loop road, is not on my side road.
And with the water question, I did ask Chris on that call, average consumption in our neighborhood, and he pulled it up and he said it was around 2,000 to 2,500 gallons a month. So you would know if you're burning through more than 5,000 a month because your bill's higher. And there's, I believe, Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, we all have water meters at our homes. So you can see if you're constantly, if you have a leaking toilet or something like that, where you're constantly burning water, you can see that. You can also see it on your bill. So if you're getting the same bill every month, you're staying within our 5,000 gallons right now. So for the majority of the people in this neighborhood, this shortage of water gallons from 5,000 to 3,000 won't even impact the majority of you.
I appreciate that. I want to feel confident in the new fees because yes, you're right. I can see exactly how much water I use every month. It's plainly displayed on my bill. I would completely agree with that. I feel very uncomfortable with that sort of response, not knowing like how many people are going to be affected by it. So, and I appreciate everybody's response. I'm happy to call on my road as well because $500 is a big chunk for me, and I would like to have that service provided if it's available that way. I'm happy to just call and ask for it then. So thank you.
But you should feel better, Denise, and everybody else on this call. The board, I mean, the board members are residents too. It's going to affect us too. This was a hard decision for us. Lots of calls, lots of emails, lots of hours spent looking at this rate study and talking to the experts. You should be pleased that the majority of the people will now not have to pay for other people that are using more water. So I went back to and I looked at mine. June and July this year, June and July last year, I use a lot of water. I make up for the rains that we don't get. But that's my choice now to use that and maybe plant drought tolerant bushes, plants, trees, flowers. The people that are using that, everyone's not paying for them now. So the base rate, you're going to pay for your water usage, and the usage fees are the the best thing for this community, instead of just saying, this house has 3 toilets and this house has 2 toilets. The 3 toilet one is going to pay more. We did strictly on every resident's usage fee, whatever you use. If there's a house with 2 toilets, but they got 10 people in there, they're going to use more and pay more than the house with 3 toilets with maybe 2 people in it. So people, I know it's a lot of money, but you should be pleased that we looked at it's your usage and your decision to grow the lawn, have a green grass, or put in drought tolerant plants, and just that in. And maybe what I do every shower before it gets cold, it sits in a bucket, and then I use that bucket. I'm the lady with the bucket watering my plants around my house. So that's how I'm trying to conserve. So, but I hope that answers, Denise.
All right, Denise, thank you for your input. We appreciate it. Jamie, do we have anybody else on the list?
We do. We have 2 more individuals. The next one is Stephanie Balsley.
I see Stephanie Balsley
Sorry
there.
about that. It's hard to get unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Okay. So my question is, in my brain, and it's a pea brain, I admit that, but it seems to me that these fees are being, the impetus for this is for infrastructure improvements throughout the subdivision. There are a few things that I'm seeing that are strictly tied to usage, which in my brain, the rate increases should be tied to usage. The infrastructure improvements should be tied to ownership in Forest Lakes via our mill levy. And I totally understand that everybody that lives here doesn't have access to the sewer plant, for instance. But my point here is that to raise rates to pay for infrastructure improvements doesn't seem correct. We can raise rates to deal with usage, but not the infrastructure improvements. Those should be made by mill levy or by bonding or something like that, that applies to the people who actually own the properties here, not people that are renting here. And I'm speaking as an owner, and I know this would impact me directly, but I'm wondering why we are using rates for usage to improve infrastructure when it really should be our mill levy and owners paying for those improvements.
To answer your question specifically, to us, the revenue is the revenue, whether we do it through mill levy or through the payment of the fees. There's nothing that says we have to go left or right, and there's nothing in the Colorado statutes which basically govern how we do things, that basically says taxes can be used for X. As far as mill levy versus bonds is borrowing money. A bond issue is very, very expensive venture to get into. And whenever we've talked about bonds, especially when we did the office, the cost is astronomical. So bonding is not a question. I think I would just ignore that part. Mill levy versus fees. I understand what you're saying, but it all comes down to the same thing. When we do our budget, we don't take the tax dollars and break it out into pieces that go into certain things for maintenance versus capital improvements.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but you know, when you're talking about infrastructure improvements, those are benefiting the people that actually own the properties, and they're not really benefiting the people that are renters. And I'm just going to say it right here, right now, and I, just so that I am on record as saying it, I don't think it's right that you make renters pay for infrastructure improvements that are not benefiting them. If you need them to pay higher rates for their usage, that's one thing, but the infrastructure improvements is a totally other thing. And I think for you to poo-poo that money is money isn't really a fair thing to do.
Just
Let
to
me put it this way, the water line that provides the water to your property, as you renter or owner, doesn't make any difference. When the water line rots out and has to be replaced because it's 50 years old, we call that a capital improvement because the water line needs to be replaced. When a break takes place, we fix the line immediately. So I would disagree with what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
I hear you, but the improvement is actually benefiting the property owner. The water usage is benefiting the renter.
I understand what you're saying. Just
Infrastructure improvements.
And I'm,
Go ahead, Derek.
go ahead, Manny.
I was just going to say the tenants actually do benefit from this because they use our infrastructure, they use our roads, they use our services. So for you to put it on an owner, it doesn't matter. If you want to charge the owner, that's fine. If you don't think it's going to get trickled down to a tenant, I think you're wrong. So these are fees the tenants pay because the tenants use these services while they are living in our neighborhood.
And
yeah, but they're also paying the rates for that. They're paying the rates to the Metro District. Most owners aren't paying the Metro fees and rolling it into the rent. They're charging rent and then the renter is paying the Metro fees. So my point is still valid. No matter how you put it, it is benefiting the owner. The usage of those things is being paid for by the fees. And I think you're mixing things up here and it's adding confusion. The infrastructure is benefiting just the owner. The ability of the renter to get water, yeah, that's a benefit from the infrastructure. And it's unfortunate that over the past year since 1970, money wasn't put aside for this stuff. And I'm not putting that on this board at all. I just think that we need to maybe revisit this a little bit and think about how that money's being funded.
Just a hypothetical, and I could be wrong here, but even special districts such as ours are subject to table requirements. So if we want to, increase the mill, take out bonds, that's going to require an election. Again, Colorado revised statutes, we have to vote on it per tabor. The appetite to raise rates is not going to be high. I get that. The appetite to vote to give yourself a tax increase is going to be even less. So we can watch our infrastructure.
Yeah, well,
grade. So that's always an option. And who will vote for that tabor requirement? It's the property owner, not the renter.
Right, and I agree with that also. We also have a mill levy in place that we are not even using our allowable mill levy that wouldn't require a vote. I think our allowable mill levy is 0.6 or something like that. Is that correct? Something in that area?
Yes, we're underneath the maximum. But the other thing to keep in mind,
so
if I was a landlord, Stephanie, and I'm not, and if my property tax bill went up $200-300, whatever the hell the number is, I can assure you my tenant's going to pay for it. I'm not going to eat that just because so I disagree with your concept saying landlord versus. So
I mean, I agree. I agree with that, Tony. But the benefit is still to the landowner. When they sell, they're going to be able to say, "Hey, we have this great infrastructure." All of that stuff is a benefit to the landowner. And if that cost gets moved on to the renter via their amount they're paying for rent, I understand that is probably going to happen. But I still am a strong believer that I don't think a renter should be paying for these capital improvements to our infrastructure. I think property owners should be paying for those things. And then if somebody is renting here, they get to choose if they pay it by renting out here. That's their choice. I'm a strong believer in that. And my time's probably up. Thank you, guys.
we understand what you're saying. Okay, Jamie.
All right, next I have Richard Dooley.
Okay, Mr. Richard Dooley. I've been looking at your picture now since we started these meetings.
Hi, thank you. Thanks. I've been patient with listening to everybody. This is our first meeting. We own 3 lots at the beginning of phase 3. This is a little off the subject that you are currently talking about, but we've owned our lots. Well, my father's owned these lots since 1980 or so, and he sold them to my brother, and my brother sold them to me. So we've kind of had them, and I've been aware of the problems that Forest Lakes has had, all these issues. But we are interested in building a small, modest house off the grid with solar, self-contained, septic system that abides by San Juan Basin, um, sanitation, health department, and we want to have propane and everything. And I've been in talks with the La Plata County Building Department over the years, and I've been told them my plans and in person and on phone. And then recently, they just gave a flat answer of we're not issuing any building permits for phase 3. Is there anyone that can speak of, as long as I'm building, and following codes, and everything, I'm not requiring water, I'm not asking for water, I'll truck my own water in and have a cistern system. Is there anyone have any information why I'm kind of in a limbo here? If I can't do anything, it's very expensive to build the way we're going to do this without the utilities, but we're willing to do it. What's the alternative? So can anyone speak about this and why La Plata County just gives the flat answer of no to this?
Okay, Richard, a little bit of hindsight. Actually, last year, the reason the La Plata County, I think, came down in writing finally with their statement, I think you're referring to, says you got to have water. Without water, you can't do sewer. Without sewer, you can't get building permit, which is the philosophy, I think, that was written by the county. And the biggest reason behind that is during the years 2019 and 2020, La Plata County went through a major revision of their the county building codes and what you can and cannot do. And the one comment that just hangs in my head, because I've heard it in those meetings with the few that I did attend, and I also heard it from a good friend of mine, is there's some people out there says it's my damn property and I can do whatever I damn well want to. Well, it's not an answer to anything. But the problem is with that statement, the county went in and revised a lot of building codes. One specific one I know that I've heard about that I can relate to is there was an individual who was going to build some RV parks here not too far away, and he wanted to do a lagoon for his septic. And in the old code, he could. In the new code, you can't. Now, part of that is also affected by what the state's position is about lagoons and septic tanks or septic fields, whatever you want to call it. They've changed their statutes and we're in limbo. We here at Forest Lakes are in the catch-22 on that whole issue is we have permits to operate septic system that we have over the yard down below. The problem is we've applied for renewal for that license now for over 3.5 years and have yet to receive confirmation of approval. And they're just dragging their feet. The answer we get is, oh yeah, we're behind. But the legislature has also passed some laws that restrains that activity. If you were to try to build what we have today, you're not going to get it approved. Between the state statute and the county statutes, they won't do that anymore. And I think what you're being caught in between is basically our inability to assist Unit 3. And I say inability because I think from a landowner up here, I would like nothing better than have a bunch of homes up there, rather than some of the things that are going out up there. To me, a home that would be a lot more valuable in the subdivision as a whole. Plus, not only that, if you put a nice house up there, we get the tax revenue off it. So for us, it's a game game. And I really don't have any good insight. I know I'm trying to explain to you how we got to where we are today and what this board inherited. I don't have any good answers. I know there's some people speculating up there what they would like to do. We have one lady I know that owns 30 lots up there. And I think she even improved one of the roads. There's another individual I talked to recently, at least by email, who bought a piece of property, and from looking at the plat maps, he needs an ATV or a horse to get to his property because there's not even a roughed-in road. So it's kind of a mixture of everything up in Unit 3. And part of it that I went through years ago, you don't even want to build on because there's nothing but rocks. And you get in the far east portion of Unit 3, you just don't want to go there, period. So the county, a sit down with the county would be my best suggestion to kind of talk to them face to face and say, hey, look, guys, you put me between a rock and a hard place. there's been statements made over the years that Metro has prohibited the county from issuing permits. To my knowledge, it's never happened. But either way, that's part of 25 years worth of history up there. And I've lived up here about 21 years now. So I don't envy you. I don't have a good answer. But if I was in your shoes, I know the one thing I would do is go sit down at the county, either the planning department or the building department. Keith, which one do you think is best?
Yeah, so you need to start with their community development director, Richard Neil Starkybaum. He's the individual that has been, we've had a lot of conversations with him over the last year.
What was his
And
name?
Neil Starkybaum.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and, you know, from the district, my office's standpoint, we've been a huge advocate for the folks that have talked about building something off grid up there. We've been a huge advocate to try to allow that to happen and to try to promote that happening. And I've had plenty of conversations with the county about that. And what Tony was talking about, the plans that have changed, it was their land use plan that they changed and they revamped it back in September of last year. So the whole thing of hauling water and all these other different requirements have been addressed in that and have become so much more restrictive that everyone up in Unit 3 and across all of La Plata County is being impacted by that, because they're not issuing any building permits unless it's black and white, unless you meet the criteria in their new land use revamp plan. So one person that you may want to get a hold of, Candace Mann, and I can, if you can email me, I can email you her contact information, and I'm at manager@flmd.com. She's the one that owns 30 lots up there, and she's had a lot of conversations with the county.
Right, yeah, I'm familiar with, I mean, I was told about her, and I'll probably contact her. Yeah, so I did go into the planning department and speak with someone, but that was about 2 years ago, so it was probably right before they changed their plan. So that's
Right.
kind of why it caught me off guard, because I had talked to them about building off the grid. And they said, as long as you follow San Juan Basin Health Department, you have an engineer, which we were, Rick Johnson who did the assessment.
Yep.
He's the guy that looked at our property and said he could put in a system. And so we were just about to, have him design a system for us. And then I got this message. So, yeah, it's quite a rude awakening, but I mean, it's not the end of the world. I will appeal to them and I will email you.
Okay.
Thank you for my
Richard?
answer. If it's anyone else that has any answer, that'd be great. But
Richard, I
I
got
will
one
email
more
you.
thing. Richard, I would like one more thing I want to throw at you. Why don't you write down this name, Matt Salka. Last name is Salka. He's a county commissioner, one of 3 that basically is in the county for La Plata. And I've known him personally for a number of years. He recently got elected. And I found him to be a very useful tool to try to direct me in the right direction, get an issue resolved. And if you look up into La Plata County, you can get his email out there, no problem. But you feel free to maybe drop him a note or talk to him for a second. Because
Okay.
the county commissioners control all the departments that we're talking about. So
Right.
coming in from the top level once in a while may help you try to get some direction or some insight in what their thinking is. Just a
Okay.
recommendation.
I'll second
Okay, thank
that.
you.
I'll second that. Matt's a good guy and very thorough.
What's the last name again?
Salka, Salka.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for feeding us in, Richard. Okay. We are an hour and a half into our meeting. We're past the public comments, and we appreciate everybody's attendance, everybody for listening. I think we need to move on with our management reports. And I'm gonna ask the manager, I know he likes to give us a lot of details about what he does and what he's accomplished. We appreciate that very, very much. But maybe he can give us a short version.
I'm not totally sure what that is, Tony.
Well, I could take your job description, cut it down one page. I know that.
Okay, I will do my best.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, so the first one has to do with the annual audit. We're required to do a financial audit, and Jamie, I'm sorry, I'm gonna address this now. So the audit for the 2020 financials was complete, and that only yielded one additional finding and recommendation, which we're very proud of, because last year we had 8 of them. So I think the progress that has been made in this area, I directly attribute to Jamie's management of the finances, and then also her coordination with our auditor. So we're proud of that. And like we did with the findings and the recommendations from the previous year's financial audit, we'll track those, and we'll coordinate with the treasurer and the board to let you know what the progress is on those. Second item has to do with the COVID-19 vaccine clinic. So the initial clinic was on July 10th, where they had 8 people get vaccinated. San Juan Basin had 8 people get vaccinated in the neighborhood. Then they had a second one on July 24th, where they had 14 people that actually got vaccinated. So they're going to be back again, and they're going to post right up by the bus stop at the entrance. And they're going to be back on the 21st of August. And then we should have flyers go back out and on our website, letting folks know that San Juan Basin will be back in the neighborhood again. Oh, and one final comment on that. The vaccine clinic they had on the 24th, they commented that that was actually their most successful mobile clinic in the past 6 weeks of all clinics run outside of our regular standing clinics at large venues. So that's a quote unquote. So we've got a large population in this neighborhood, so they like coming here. So the down tree removals, we had a couple trees identified by residents. Several trees up on Blue Ridge Circle, and then one at the Meadow between Alpine Forest and Meadowbrook Drive. They identified to us by residents, and our staff took care of both of those and got rid of the safety issues. So the small improvement district program, that's where people can prepay tap fees, so we can extend utilities down to these dead end roads where utilities do not exist. So the one we completed this year was along Spruce Way and Pine Top Drive. And I'm happy to say that that project is 100% complete. O&M got the project done quicker, ahead of schedule, and under budget. And I'm happy to say that Rick Brydom and Jill Sutton, who actually threw in additional funds for this project, they will actually see some credit to the funds that the extra funds that they placed for that water and sewer line extension. And then next summer, we will be on Snowbird Court, because that's also another project where people have agreed to pay to prepay their water and sewer tap fees. So lead and copper testing and sampling. So each year we have 10 homes in the subdivision, those same 10 homes that we do lead and copper testing. Test results, or the tests have been taken. We're waiting the test results. And then once we receive those, we'll send those results off to the Colorado Department of Public Health. And happy to say that in 2020 and 2019, those test results came back and they were normal. And we suspect the same thing this year, but we will definitely keep everyone posted on that. Our new grader, so we received the new grader from Hanan, and it's being equipped with all the accessories and items that we need on it to maintain the roads and to complete snow removal operations. One thing that Jim also did in the conversations with Hanan, he reiterated to them that we will need a second grader during the winter, which is normal for our wintertime operations now. So that jogged their memory, and so that should be sitting waiting for us comes winter snow removal operations. So the trash key fobs, so had a lot of discussions about this as well internally with staff. And our present control panel that we have down at the dumpsters and the brush and slash pile, it maxes out at 999 key fobs that can be assigned on it. So we're currently in conversations with the manufacturer to increase that given the need. And especially if when we open it up to allow more Unit 3 personnel in order to get trash key fobs and those types of things, it's going to be more critical for us in order to have a fix to this, and we are working on that. The highway user tax fund allocation, we get this yearly, and in my notes, I won't read what all of those, what they're based upon, but we get a portion of the revenue that comes from like vehicle license plates, identification plates, yada, yada, yada. But we get some of the proceeds from that. And then we received this year's allocation, which amounted to $54,713.16. And in my notes, I also have highlighted what the previous year's allocations have been since 2016. And we seem to be kind of hitting the average on what all of those allocations have been over the last 5 years. Water tank inspections, and these are our large water tanks that we have up on the mountain that provide water to all the residents. So every 4 years, we're required to have our water tanks inspected by our professional firm. So we hired Inland Potable Services out of Centennial, Colorado to complete them for us. And all of that work, the inspections were completed on July 12th. At a cost of only $3,200, a little more than $3,200, which was about $2,500 less than the company we fired out of Farmington. So we have all the videos and the inspections, inspection reports. And then so we are good for the next 4 years. So I won't touch on number 10, it has to do with road improvements. I'll leave that to Jim. Jim, you should be happy. Our strategic plan updates. So we completed the original district strategic plan on May 8th and have had 4 subsequent updates since then. The latest update we've done to that is dated July 22nd, 2021, and that's posted on our website. And in my manager's report, we have a hyperlink that'll take you right to where our strategic plans are located. So the next item has to do with the officer in charge, or what we call the ORC contract replacement. So the best way to cover this is for the management, the testing, sampling, and reporting for our water and sewer, we're required to have a person or a company certified to have a certification that matches what our class is for both our water and sewer systems. So Kyle Rick was that individual, and Kyle Rick has moved on to Mancus in the interim, but he's going to provide us services until the person we're trying to hire, contractor, has his certification in one of those key areas. So we're going to dual team this in the interim, but as soon as Dave Marza is his name, gets all of his required certifications, he'll be doing all of the ORC responsibilities for the district. Unit 3 amendment to the service plan. So resolution 2021-8 officially positioned the County Board of County Commissioners to amend the service plan to delete the requirement for the district to provide water, sewer, and roads infrastructure upgrades due to their costs. So the board approved that back on July 13th. It was recorded on July 22nd. I provided both the board, our board, and Neil Starkebaum with a copy of that recorded resolution. So Neil, in conversations with him, he's referred me to what they call Chapter 11 of their land use plan, which has to deal with special districts, the code for them. So I'm going to meet with Neil again tomorrow. He and I spoke on August 2nd. And so we're starting to work out the details on what it's going to take in order for us to petition the Board of County Commissioners in order to officially modify our service plan. Next item has to do with the food vendor trucks. So we received requests from food truck vendors to set up trucks on FLMD property so they can sell their goods to the residents of Forest Lakes. I'm sure that some of the residents know this. Katie's Barbecue was the first one allowed to set up at the entrance. Next came Chicken Coop. And the board is now planning an event where they would allow several food trucks to set up by the community center 3 or 4 times a week, or sorry, 3 or 4 times per month. And I think it's a great idea for Forest Lakes. So one thing that folks need to know, the county issues a permit to the vendors and somewhat controls the scheduling of them. And San Juan Basin issues the health permits, both of which we currently require before letting them set up on the property. We don't provide power, we don't provide internet, we just provide the space. So now the thought is that we would host something like this at the community center. And so we've reached out to Jeff, our attorney, who has provided us with a draft proposed contract, which I forwarded out to all the board members for their review. Jeff will be back in the office next week. So if the board has any comments or any changes they would like to see with that, I will pass it on to get them to me, and then I will then pass it off to Jeff. So rate increases, that's number 15. I don't know if there's anything else we need to say about that. The solar proposal. So a few months ago, Shaw Solar contacted the district with a proposal to help us save energy usage by converting certain facilities to solar. They considered all of our facilities, and it came down to about 1, 2, 3 different facilities that they recommended. They provided me with a copy of their proposed agreement, which I turned over to our attorney. He provided recommendations back to us that we are currently reviewing. And I hope to have a resolution for the board for that initiative at the September 2021 meeting. Wastewater treatment plant discharge permit, as Tony mentioned earlier, haven't gotten anything from CDPHE on that. The new office building, long story short on that, Martin Hodder Construction, and I did not have a chance to check this today, was to be out there today laying out the physical boundaries of the building. He was going to have equipment delivered and hopefully start the earthwork and the excavation this afternoon. What I'll have to do is check on that tomorrow morning to verify where he is with that. Parks Equipment Master Plan, the 4-year plan. So we're currently in year 2 of the 4-year master plan, which again, that is also on our website. And in the manager's report, it shows the items that we are installing at each one of the 3 parks, that being Lake Simpatico, the community center, and Meadowbrook. You can take a look at that. And I know O&M was out doing some of the concrete work today to set the posts. So it's going to look sharp, no doubt about it. So tree cutting in the right of way, Southwest Sawyers is done for this year. And one of the items that we had him do for us was fire mitigation work up at the Pine Ridge Tank. And in the manager's report, I have a before and after photo that shows the type of fire mitigation work that those guys do. And it looks absolutely amazing. So with this initiative for this year, we had allocated $15,000 for it. And we're probably about $8,000 over budget because we had them do additional additional workforce and clearing dead trees and doing fire mitigation, but the money is definitely there, and it was money well spent. And that concludes my manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Roundtree. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Jamie, the office manager, administrator, the one that keeps us all working, that makes things happen. Your turn.
Hello.
Hi.
I don't really have anything to discuss at this time. I'm still working on data tables for Cassell. Nothing new to report there, and Keith went over the audit. And between wrapping up the audit and working on the data tables for Cassell, we have not had time to focus on getting prepared for the move quite yet for the new office.
I have one question for you, Jamie. What is the target date for Cassell? Do we have
The
it?
end of the year, the first of next year,
Okay, so let's say first quarter.
because we're still adding data for the first of 3 phases.
Okay,
Yeah, and we manually have to add information on every single water meter and resident in Forest Lakes. It's very tedious. And this is over and beyond our daily work, which is great in itself.
let's let you go home at night.
I sneak.
Yeah, I can't hold her back, Tony.
Thank you,
Uh-huh.
Jamie. We appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Short Timer, tell us about your words of wisdom on the O&M.
All right, here we go. We got the sprinklers. Now, this was back in July, finally up and running, which we haven't even turned on but once because of all the rain we had. We finished up the water taps on Spruce Way, and we hauled the dirt from Pine Top and Spruce Way down here to the pit, all the extra dirt that was left over. They did their Goody test that they have to do every month here and send into the state. We have Spruce Way water taps twice. They did the tank inspections, like Keith said. All the curb stops and everything, the job on Pine Top and Spruce Way is all completed. We've got the curb stops and all the water tap or sewer taps are all done. We had a water leak on San Moritz. We had to repair a booster pump at the water distribution building that puts the chlorine into the water. They've been working on the roads. We got them back up and started since we spent so much time on Pine Top and Spruce Way. They had to clean we call them the steps at the wastewater discharge point because they were getting like a green moss on them, and the steps are for putting the air back into the putting oxygen back into the water before it goes in, so we had to clean that all off. And Keith already covered the trees that we already took care of them. Let's see, all of our vehicles are up and running again. We were having trouble with our a water leak, antifreeze leak actually, on the water truck, which is kind of ironic. And we had no incidents. And I did have a real nice, I was going to bring in today for the meeting pictures of all the water leaks that we're getting now, where everything is falling apart after 50 years. So just to kind of prove the point that the infrastructure needs to be upgraded, we're getting like we'd be like last year, we never even got one water leak. The year before, we had one main break, and now we're getting water leaks, 2 or 3 times, at least one a month. So there definitely has to be some kind of infrastructure, and if we have to pay for it, if not, people won't have the water. It's not too bad with the sewer lines. Sewer lines are, we very seldom get a sewer line leak. Now it's just because of the water is all under pressure. All these lines are starting to rot through them. That's what we've seen. All of the little galvanized nipples and everything that they used to use on the water tap, they're all starting to fail, and they're getting pinholes in them, so they're getting bigger and bigger. We still have one up on, Green Ridge that we have to take care of, and we use brass now, but they're a lot more expensive, but they'll never, they won't fall apart. So that's my last one.
Jim,
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry. How can people tell if they have a water leak and what should they do?
Look at their water bill. You can see water. We had a water leak up on Pine Valley, and it had been leaking, but they just didn't notice it. And then by the time they noticed it, Jamie and Barb will call us and say, hey, when they look at their water bill and say, can you go check? Their water bill seems to be pretty high. And generally, if we can go there and we pull the lid off and we look at, there's a little spinner in there, and if it's turning, then we can look and see out in their yard, either a wet spot or something like that. And then then they got a problem, because it could be, $600-700 before they even can notice it, because it could be leaking underground. And until that water saturates the ground, then it starts pushing through the surface. So it's just going.
Hey, Jim, one question. We have problems with infiltration in the sewer system. Are we still inspecting those?
Yes, Keith has it all set up. They're going to be coming out. We're thinking that most of our, where the water is coming in, it's not coming in from the sewer pipes at all. It's actually coming in through some of the sewer mains, the manholes.
The manholes,
So,
right.
they have that scheduled to, they're going to spray the inside, seal them, so that, we don't get as much water infiltration anymore.
Okay. Because I know, especially with some more monsoons coming up, monsoon ain't gonna help us any with that issue.
No, but we've caught a few big leaks that that pipe was actually broken, and the way we found it was, and this was a couple of years ago, but when I first started, there actually was a broken feed to supply line to somebody's house, and it was actually spraying right into the sewer, because it had broken the sewer too. So it was actually spraying into the sewer and straight down. So there was no way that we would have ever caught it. So by changing that line out, we fixed the sewer, and most of our infrastructure, they did most of the major cammering, and we haven't seen anything where it's really coming in. So we're going to put the money towards the manholes.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
All right.
Any more words of wisdom for us before you start hitting the road?
No, just do it while you can.
Seriously, thank you for everything you're doing for us and have done, and will still do till you leave next month. But
Yeah,
we will miss you.
I'm still here in the subdivision, so.
Thanks, Jim. Greatly
I know.
appreciated.
Thank you, Jim.
All righty.
Yep, thanks a lot.
All right, Keith, you're back up on item number D, financials.
Okay, so as far as the property tax distribution, we actually had another allocation come in yesterday. So the information I have in my report is a little inaccurate, but we are at 100% right now of the levied property tax allocation from the county for this year. As far as water pumping amongst our 4 wells, so this month being July, the reporting month, so we pumped 5.9 million gallons of water between the 4 wells. And in June 2021, we pumped 6.2 million gallons of water. So I like that trend, especially when you compare that to in 2019, it was 7.1, 2020, 7.1, and 5.1 million gallons at this time in 2021. So I like that downward trend. As far as the financials, so we have the 3 funds, the general water and sewer fund, and across the board. Again, the metric I use is we like to look at and see that the revenues are not exceeding expenses. And in the general fund, 75% of revenues versus 61% of expenses. Water funds, 61% of revenues versus 59% of budgeted expenses. Sewer funds, 68% of revenues compared to 47% of expenses. And then overall, we're looking at 69% of budgeted in revenues versus 57% of expenses. And that covers the budget income to expense reports.
I have one question for you, Keith, and it just came up because of the HUTF fund money that we got, that 54,000.
Yep.
Do we put that directly into the general fund where basically our road expenses go, or is that scattered out to 3?
It goes into the general fund.
It does go 100% to general.
100%.
Okay, just thought I'd ask, but I wasn't sure. Unfinished business, the recreational committee. I think we talked about the food trucks and stuff. Was there anything else, Mandy or Derek, in that area that we did not cover yet?
No.
My only concern about the food trucks is I hear you, Keith, when you say we shouldn't provide internet or anything, but just in speaking with a few of those food truck owners, there's no way for them to get internet down there. And as you know, like a good majority of Forest Lakes is a dead zone for cell phones. So if they don't have some way to get internet there, and most of these trucks aren't routed with it. I don't know how else they could operate because that's how they run their point of sale systems.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we can look at that. I just want to ensure there's no security issues and anything of that nature with someone piping in and using our own infrastructure.
How do we control it?
Well, I'm not really sure if we can control that, if they have access to it.
I can chat with Jared and see what kind of firewall they have there, and we could make it so it's a constantly changing passcode so that people aren't using the internet, you know what I mean, ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
We could make it so it's just a daily password or something like that. Just a thought. I don't know how else to make it work.
So we need to investigate that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
Other than that, that's my only concern. I think the rest of that we can definitely support. Of course, there's not any other support required of us except for the space, but yeah, we'll look at that.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Thank you both. Is there any new business from any board members or office staff?
I would like to bring up, and I know I've brought it up in the past, but I would love to bring it up again just because this summer it's been driving me crazy. I really would love to revisit our slash and dump hours. I have been working really hard this summer to clear pine needles and brush off of my land, and it's really frustrating that I can't do it on Sundays because that's one of the only days we really get to do it. I have kids' sports on Saturdays, as I'm sure a lot of people do. And I've revisited some of the hours just because they're confusing. And I know many people in this neighborhood have gone down there and didn't look at the hours ahead of time and can't dump their trash or their slash. If we did a more consistent, and I would love to talk to who's working down there to look and see what kind of traffic we get during certain hours. But if we did it Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we were closed Tuesday and Wednesday, if we did it 9 to 6 during the week and 8 to 5 on the weekends, or even 9 to 5 on the weekends, it would actually save us hours. An option.
This is Jim. That you're trying to open it on a weekend and you're going to be paying overtime for people to be down here because you can't leave it open on a weekend. That's when we get all the furniture and all the other junk that people aren't supposed to be throwing away. That's why.
No, I get that. But if we're closed Tuesday and Wednesday, I don't understand how it would be overtime.
Are you gonna
Because
close it?
the guys work from Monday to Friday. They don't work on Saturday. We have the person on call comes in, opens the gate Saturday morning, and then closes it at 5 o'clock on Saturday night. And that's when people bring all the stuff that they were told not to bring during the week. They'll bring it down here because they know there's nobody here.
Right. So Mandy, to put it another way, so the staff that we have down there are working Monday through Friday, and they're working 7 to 4. So the staff members that Jim has, they're doing brush slash dumpster and everything else that is in the subdivision. So, and they need those bodies during the week, a lot of times, to work on the same projects when they have the crew members there. So if we do bring them in on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, we are paying them overtime.
I mean, is there, like, can we hire a position for just weekends? Somebody that sits there Saturday, Sunday? I don't know. I know this neighborhood really needs a lot of fire mitigation, and that's a big frustration
Well, they have
to not
all
have
day
anything
Saturday.
there on Sunday. Right, but those of us that have kids, Saturday isn't available to work on your yard. Like, there's a million things going on. Sunday's my day. Just a thought. I didn't know if we could reorganize funds or staffing or something just to make it more user-friendly for working folks.
Well, let's
Because I
put it
really want to
in.
encourage people to use it.
And it wouldn't have to be for full 8 hours, I'd say too, if it's open for, just 3 to 4 hours. I mean, I'm on that same
Yeah,
train as
something.
well. I mean, my job is much easier now, I hope, as far as weekends go. But I think, there are people I talk to, they're busy Saturdays, and I'd rather not work on a Sunday, but that's the time I have to get my lot cleared up and do all my yard work. So even just
Well,
for a
let's
few
put
hours.
it on as an item. Let's put it on as an item. We can kick things around, give Keith and Jim some time to think about this, see what options. And at the next meeting, we can see if we can come to some kind of agreement here to deal with this. That okay with you guys? That okay?
Yeah.
We'll put it back out there. Okay, here's the topic of the day. I think the resolution 2021-09. We have all had a chance to read this. We have already all agreed that we're going to delete item 5B as in boy. Is going to come off of there from the final document. We've heard a lot of inputs from residents. We've heard a lot of comments of what they think, what we did, what we didn't do. Unless the any other board member has any other comments to make about this, I think we need to put it up for a vote.
There's still a question of the asphalt.
Yeah, let me address that, Tony. So
Okay.
The comment that Robin made about the asphalt, I think it's the 5th whereas. So basically, the comparison that's being made in that whereas is that the district has gravel roads, and gravel roads require a higher level of maintenance than asphalt roads. And we are currently not generating enough funding in revenue in order to handle that long-term requirement. So that is what that whereas is saying.
Yeah, I understand after I read it. I understand where you came from.
Yeah.
We're not going to go. I mean, asphalt roads will cost us an easy 27 million plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reference to asphalt that I can think of in the year and a half I've been the board is just discussing it as a discussion item at the entrance of Forest Lakes. And that's the only time asphalt has ever come up to my
Yeah.
knowledge.
And even that may come out again in the future. Who knows, when we get a better position to be able to expense that item.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of pros and cons on that one too.
Right.
So anyway, what I did not want to do is spend the next half hour reading all of this, because if not, everybody's seen it. It's been on the website. Everybody's had access to the copies. I don't have any other comments to make about this except the motion to approve resolution 2021-09.
Yeah. My only comments are simply that this is not fun. I mean, I'm raising rates on myself too. I'm on a fixed income, and I understand all the arguments that go into making this decision. The transparency one I struggle with because, you know, I've been the board now for, like I say, almost a year and a half, and this has been ongoing. Had I not been on the board, I probably wouldn't have heard about it. So transparency is always a two-way street with people being involved with the conversations. I mean, at last count, I counted 41 people on this meeting. That's a record for in recent in recent numbers, but that's great. And so that kind of involvement I think is important. I mean, I recall meetings in the summer when we were talking about this, the participation number was about 10 or 11. And keep in mind, there's 5 of us, Keith, Jamie, and Jim. So I understand that. This is not an easy decision, but I think Forest Lakes is not immune to the same situation you see nationwide with crumbling infrastructure, this and that. And I think we're here now to make this decision. Not crazy about it, but I think, past boards, not to throw them under the bus, but somebody brought it up, I think recently, or in this discussion earlier in the meeting about, previous boards maybe should have addressed it. And like I say, I'm not tossing people under the bus, but we're here now and we have to address it. I don't want to see our community become just a crumbling infrastructural mess. And everything's going up. I get that. Carissa brought up in one of her emails about her cell phone bill, everything's going up. I get it. And Forest Lakes is not immune to that. So as much as I'm not crazy about this, I think it's necessary, and it keeps us in line with our capital improvement plan as far as where we see our community going, and it all fits. So it's one decision I make reluctantly, but I think it's definitely necessary.
Well said, Derek. Well said.
I want to throw one more thing out there, okay? And this is not intended for comparison. It is not intended to sway the decision that we have to make, but I do believe it's fair basically to let people know a little bit. How do we compare to the neighborhoods around us? And this information all came from their website, but I'll go into a lot of details. I'll basically give you a couple of Durango West, base water and sewer service. Okay, $160 a month flat for everything. Edgemont, basically, which is the big difference is they have paved roads, but that's all right. Their current amounts is $129 a month. And then the other one I looked at was Bayfield, right down below us, which is kind of interesting. The bill is for $83 right now, plus $5 for filtration on the system, so it's $87. But those people on sewer have to pay $5 per 1,000 gallons of sewer. And the way they figured that is based on your water usage. So if you pump 6,000 gallons of water each month, you're also going to pay another $30 on your sewer base. Because they figure the water has to go somewhere, either down a toilet, in your body, whatever. So even though we're jumping, we're still not, what I feel, jumping out of the ballpark. And like I said, this is not intended for comparison for why we did what we're doing, or what we're voting on this. They just showing that, hey, we're not out of line. This should have been happening. It should have been happening on many years over time. It shouldn't have all been dumped in one bucket.
Yeah.
I also wanted to add that we got a lights and cameras for the mail stop. Your rates didn't go up. When we added the incinerator, Jim, whatever it's called, for the slash, which most people use, your rates didn't go up. The bus stop, we didn't charge you for that. There's a lot of improvements that I could list that rates did not go up and services did. That's all I wanted to add.
And since I've been on the board, we've had one water tank taken out of service and leaks into others. I mean, it's just further evidence of the infrastructure needs to be updated. One thing also I'd like to say, Tony, is when we vote on this, we need to make sure that we vote on it with the wording that we're removing Roman numeral 5B from the resolution. I want to make sure that it's stated that way when we vote on it.
You can guarantee, being I'm the one that have to sign it tomorrow, the one I sign will not have the statement on there. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be my signature at the bottom of it.
I
And
would
then
suggest that you
Yes.
remove the word asphalt from it too, because that has no bearing on us. Get the word asphalt out of the resolution.
We just discussed that.
No.
You did, but I didn't hear
Okay.
anybody say they would remove it.
It's not,
Okay.
it's comparing it to, it's a word we're comparing it to.
I hear we're comparing it, but we don't have any, so we shouldn't compare it to.
It's part of
We're
the
not-
rate study.
Okay, hang it. This is an easy one. If you go back to the statement, if we take the words versus asphalt roads, those 3 words, which has no impact on that statement whatsoever, just
Get rid-
delete those 3 words out.
Perfect.
I don't have any
Perfect.
problems with that. But to me, it really threw a monkey wrench at me because when I first read it, I never read that. The Robin brought it up. So she read it more thoroughly than I did. Because I
Yeah,
didn't assume.
Yeah, that adds no value to the resolution. I don't care if you take it out.
Let's just take it out. That way there's no comparison.
More context.
We thank Robin basically for highlighting on something that is just a matter of how you read it, but that's fine. Okay, so we're gonna take out the words versus asphalt roads out of the 5th whereas statement. Item 5B is being removed totally. And I make a motion that we approve resolution 2021-09.
I second.
Who was that? Who was that?
Me.
You,
Carissa.
Carissa. And let's do this formally, do a roll call one by one. And I'll start with, let me just look at my screen. Carissa, do you approve of it?
Yes.
Okay, Mark, do you
Yes,
approve? Okay, Derek, do you
Yes.
approve?
I do.
And Mandy, I didn't leave you the last, but on my screen, you're the fourth number over. So Mandy, do you approve?
Yes, I approve.
And my name is Tony Schreier, and I also approve, so the approval is unanimous on this resolution. And I will be in the office sometime tomorrow morning, if that's okay with Jamie. And I'll be looking for those 2 changes, and I will sign the original, and then we can get it posted on the website with those changes.
Sounds good. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yep, this time will you let me in when I knock?
Maybe.
Call first, Tony.
I did
Yeah.
try to call. I went to voicemail. I knocked on the window. They ignored me.
No more cookies.
Okay, do I have approval of disbursements, Mark?
yeah, I make a movement that we approve the disbursements for the month dated July 5th through August 4th in the amount of $175,000, $175,683.12.
I'll second.
Second, Carissa seconds the motion. All in favor? Aye. Yes, no objections?
Aye.
Number 12. I have the time as 3:39, and I do want to thank all the board members for all that you put into these, especially a resolution and comments and everything else we've made. And I thank all the people that signed on. We appreciate you coming and ask you, please come again. Don't make this a one-time show. We do this once a month, and hopefully it'll be in person one of these days. So a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'll second.
Second.
second by Derek. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed can stay on the line and talk to whoever's still out there. Hey, guys, thank you very, very much. I
Yeah.
think we did well with what we did.
Had to be done.
I agree.
Good night.
Thank
My
you.
husband in your prayers, he's in surgery.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. His knee surgery, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
thanks.
Will do.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
I know.